While F1 has gathered a loyal fan base by giving nothing but best races, they are trying to test waters with something new and fresh. Yes, this is true. Silverstone is going to be the first trial of Formula One's new sprint race format, which sets its grid for Sunday's British Grand Prix. However, making this huge decision means that all history books would be unnecessarily warped up. So, will this change how fans feel about F1, or would it bring many more? Let's dive into this mess together. How's it going, everyone? Today we're going to talk about why F1's pole records could be about to become meaningless, and we'll take a look at some other exciting F1 news. But before we get into the video, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you don't miss out on any of the new videos we post. Let's get into it. What is really happening in F1? If you've been a fan for a long time and keep up to date with everything, you must know how Formula One teams offered their complete support for introducing a sprint race experiment in 2021 that could be easily rolled out at the Grand Prix during the 2021 season. Initially, they had been effectively running the same weekend format since the knockout qualifying was originally introduced in 2006. However, now F1 is on the cusp of a massive change in their approach. Trust us when we say it is huge. So basically, their plan is to overhaul their old weekend format, which was having the practice on Friday, then qualifying on Saturday, and lastly, the race on Sunday. This has been their format for years and years. Now, under this new plan, the qualifying will basically shift to Friday, which will then decide the grid for the sprint race on the next day. And finally, Saturday's sprint race will decide the order for the main Grand Prix, which happens on Sunday. If you are strictly an F1 fan, you probably won't be aware of what the sprint race is. So essentially, it's the same as any typical F1 race, but let's say it is more condensed, having quite a shorter distance of 100 kilometers and just takes 1 hour maximum to complete. The tournaments where F1 is planning to do a trial of sprint races are most likely to be the Brazilian, Canadian, and Italian Grand Prix this year, but nothing is finalized. So this is just our guess as fans. Even though we all know that Formula One never has, and we repeat, never officially ran a sprint race, they've been thinking about this format for such a long time. Several teams held back from introducing other gimmicky concepts such as reverse grid, where the fastest drivers are made to start from the back of the field. But this wasn't the case for the sprint race. In fact, the sprint race has been long held on Sunday morning. We don't know if you'll call it small or not, but it is 120 kilometers long, so it's just 50 kilometers shorter than the big main event feature race that happened on Saturday. But everything is going to change from 2021. As of now, there will be 2 sprint races every weekend in Formula 2 and 3 on Saturdays. You might be wondering, what exactly is the issue here? The entire announcement put F1 in a sticky position. This tightrope between entertainment and gimmick is something F1 will always have to steer clear of now. However, Stefano Domenicali, the highly talented CEO of F1, quickly cleared the chaos by saying that any plans that they initially had for the reverse grid are entirely off the table. However, this isn't the case for sprint racing. In fact, not only him, but the recent F1 Commission meeting revealed how everyone was on board with working on this format. While there are still so many questions that we are all left to wonder, they all make us worry about pole records. One of them is regarding the status that winners of the sprint race hold in the record books. I mean, would they, despite covering the lesser ground, have the official pole position for Grand Prix, or would that be reserved for the fastest driver? Another question is that could we, the fans, even call the sprint race winner the official race winner? Fans also question the matters such as grid penalties. For example, they wondered whether or not they could serve in a sprint race rather than in the Grand Prix. Even the prize money and point system need to be adequately clarified. We do agree that the awarding points will add some spice to the sprint race. Now all drivers will be left weighing up the risk and reward for fighting up the order. Since the sprint race distance is 1/3 of the actual Grand Prix, awarding points should be calculated appropriately. This all needs to be clarified, as it can lead to an angry mob of purist fans who are supporters of the old format. If this actually happened, the whole idealization that F1's pole record has would become entirely meaningless, as now something more manageable than the featured race can qualify for it. Questions. F1 really needs to clarify it all. This news led to massive chaos under the fans. There were many who were appreciative of this approach, as this will bring more fans to F1. However, many opposed it too, thinking that it is just a gimmick, making F1 lose the real essence of racing. As one tweeted, "All these modern records are completely meaningless with ever-increasing races and ultra-reliable cars and points that are handed out like confetti." Another also showed concern by saying, "Why are they bringing a banger racing mentality to F1? This is pure gimmicks, and even that at its worst. This is just cheapening the show. If you want to see this stuff go, watch something else. Please, it's F1. Let's keep some form of class here." What were you thinking when this news came out? Let us know in the comments below. In other news, this disapproval is not just from the fan, but even many racers feel the same way. One of them is Sebastian Vettel, a German racer who has started from the famous pole position for about 57 times in his career. So Vettel is just not impressed with this decision of Formula One of naming the winner of their sprint race as the official holder of pole position for the race weekend. weekend. He believes that this entire decision is wrong, and he thinks that pole is basically the fastest lap time achieved. Now, this new addition makes it all confusing. Vettel suggested that F1 should have come up with a different name for the winner of the sprint race. As he said, this is a new discipline. They didn't have this 50 years ago, and now F1 has it. Even though Vettel is pretty critical about this new proposal, he is willing to give it the benefit of the doubt and see how things go. What do you think? Should we give them the benefit of the doubt as well? Let's talk about another big news which shocked everyone. Mercedes' recent upgrades have helped close the gap to Red Bull. Yes, this is true. Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton have been trying so hard to play down the importance of an upgrade package that they were bringing to the highly anticipated Silverstone. However, it seems like these developments have played an enormous role in pushing the W12 back into the big fight with Red Bull. This has been a huge shocker for all the fans, as Mercedes wasn't any match for Red Bull's RB16B at 2 Austria races that happened recently. Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes racer, was seen pushing this car to its limit and just being baffled by Max Verstappen's outstanding performance in both races. And now after the Friday practice, it feels like they are in for more. Max Verstappen beating Hamilton by an astonishing 0.780 second. This had everyone shocked. In fact, even the Red Bull boss, Christian Horner, said that this gap was not all that huge. And lastly, George Russell's in perfect shape to score first points for Williams. We don't know about you, but we were screaming with happy tears when George Russell made it to the Q3 for his second race in succession for literally the first time in his entire career. Initially, Britain was last in practice and expected it to be implausible that they'll be qualifying, but that is not how fate works. There is no doubt in admitting Silverstone has a windy track, and their car has been susceptible to this strong wind, so you can assume they were already anticipating a very challenging weekend. However, nothing was as surprising as Russell just continuing to amaze us all. First by making it into Q2, then literally making us tear up, low-key him included, by pushing into the top 10 shootouts. Honestly, it was perfect. We repeat, a perfect lap. Now, whether he'll be able to get his first points entirely depends on the long run. However, since the track position counts a lot, he is expecting good news, and us too. Since he has nothing to lose anymore, his only thought is to move forward and enjoy the process. With this good news, we are at the end of our video. Now we want to know what you think. First, what are your thoughts on the sprint race? Do you think it completely changes F1's record? And that brings us to the end of our video. We hope to see you guys in the next video. Until then, bye!